Okay, I think we're down to the county sheriff race. So we're going to start. There's so many of them. You get 5 seconds each. Okay. All right. Up first is our sheriff, Lucas Emberton.
Only get 5 minutes. I think I should get a total of what everybody else got all put together, because I could stand up here and talk all night. But I know that y'all do not want that. I'm going to introduce myself first. My name is Lucas Emberton. I am your current Van Buren County Sheriff. I'm very honored to be your sheriff. I started my first term in 2019, and I can't even begin to tell you the leaps and bounds of improvements that we've made. But I will tell you 4 different points that I made when I ran as your sheriff candidate in 2018. Is we talked about employee training. Okay, employee training. We've had over 6,000 hours of employee training in the first 3 years, which implies that our guys are getting better trained to better serve you, to protect and serve the citizens of our county. Number 2 is our grant funding. Everybody knows how grant funding goes. To me, it's kind of like throwing mud at the wall. You just have to keep putting in, keep putting in, keep putting in. Whatever sticks, that's what you are granted for, and you use it the best way you can. We have completely outfitted all of our deputies from head to toe, except for the boots. I'm not messing with anybody's feet. But we have went all the way through and got everybody, their whole uniform that is issued. It makes it a lot easier to retain deputies and also bring in new hires when they don't have to spend extra money to come to work for you. I've been in those shoes. When you try to change departments, it's $500 plus to go to another department, get their color uniform, carry your own gun, have your own duty weapon, your duty belt, all that stuff. You don't have to do that at our department no more. I issue all of it to you. Okay, so we've saved that. So then we move into budget. Budget's one of the things that I've been very proud of. We have worked within our constraints of our budget for the last 3 years. After being cut my first year, $286,000. That was in 2018 when I took office. I was minus $286,000. We've worked in the constraints of that budget for the last 3 years. Never once have I went back and asked for money. I don't need it. I'll handle it. We'll make it ourselves. Okay. We are debt free. We have paid off over $500,000 worth of debt that I come into office to take over. We paid that off. We are debt free, and we will continue to stay debt free as long as I'm in office. Another thing is that was for the last at least 8 years what we had record of. Just short 4 weeks ago, we had an exit state legislative audit, and the lady comes in and she says, "Sheriff, I just need you to sign it." I said, "No, that's not the way that goes. You normally come in, you sit down, you tell me what I've done wrong, you tell me what I've got to correct, and we go back and we have to explain that to you, and then we have to make the changes." She said, "There's no findings in your state legislative audit. First time for over 20 years in this county right here. First time in over 20 years in the sheriff's office, you have had a state legislative audit that was clean, squeaky clean." Okay, first time I've had service all night. My phone was But anyway, I enjoy being the sheriff. Over 50 plus employees in our office, in my office, and I want to continue to be your sheriff, and I want your vote in May of 2022. Lucas Emberton, Van Buren County Sheriff. Thank you.
Up next, John Willoughby.
I'm John Willoughby. I've lived here all my life, except for the 5 years I was in the military. I've had 22 years of law enforcement, retired back in November of 2020. And I've sat around a couple of years and I decided, you know what, I'm going to throw my name in for sheriff. I've worked under 4 sheriffs during my career. I've sat and I've listened to them. They'll come up here and they'll talk and they'll tell you, hey, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, you know. And at the beginning, they do it. They do what they say they're gonna do. But in time, it seems like they just kind of go off to the side here. They don't do what they say they were gonna do anymore. It's about something else. They forget about the people that voted them in. And I sit back and I look at that, and I just can't do that anymore, you know. I care about the county too much to stand by and watch them say, hey, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and they don't do it, okay? They may do some things, but they don't do a whole lot. I've always been about leadership and integrity ever since I took that oath for the laws of the state, to uphold the laws. I took that to heart when I took that oath. And I just can't, I can't stand by anymore and just say, hey, and see things that's going on that shouldn't go on, okay? The people's lost trust in their county. I hear that all the time. They've lost faith in our law enforcement. I was chief of police here at Clinton. I was chief of police at Fairfield Bay. I held myself to a higher standard. I've held my officers to a higher standard. And I'll do that as your sheriff. I'll hold them to a higher standard. Like I said, I took that oath 22 years ago. I've seen a lot. I've been through a lot here in our county. I've cried with several of the people here in the county when they've lost loved ones and everything out here on the road. I've seen things probably that make a Billy Goat puke. But I stayed the course, and I'd appreciate your vote for your sheriff, and I'll do the best possible job that I can possibly do for you. And I wanted to kind of make it short because, you know, everybody's been up here talking and everything. But Mr. Carnahan mentioned about the explosion back in 1978. I was 12 years old then. And, you know, after that explosion, the town was full of people. If you remember that, it was full of people. People were standing out on the sidewalks, you know, and everything, worried about that warhead going off, you know. So my dad ran the pool hall down there in the center on Main Street. And everybody's crowded out there, you know, and Sheriff Gus Anglin, best sheriff. I really admired Sheriff Gus Anglin. He was out there for the people, always for the people. He didn't sit behind his desk. He was out there doing calls. He was out there amongst the people, just shaking hands, kissing babies, you know, and everything. So they were all congregated out in front of the pool hall, you know. They were all worried. And the sheriff just about pulled his hair out, you know. He's like, you know, how can I get these people to calm down, you know. Kind of got quiet out there when my dad was standing out there, and he said, well, you know, folks, if that thing was to blow up, he said, you wouldn't even know about it. Gus Anglin turned around and he said, JM, he said, I appreciate you scaring the hell out of everybody. You know, so, you know, but I'm going to be a working sheriff. I was always a working chief. I didn't sit behind my desk. You know, Jay can tell you, I was out there taking calls. I never asked them to do something that I wouldn't do, and I still won't. But, you know, I appreciate everybody for coming here tonight. I mean, gosh, this is a good turnout. And just remember me, remember John Willoughby, and vote for me as your next sheriff.
So you did have to say you were 12 years old, so it makes me look like I'm. Yeah. I appreciate that.
We changed a lot.
Yeah. Funny story. You brought up Gus Egel. I'll throw this in real quick. That night the Type 2 missile exploded. Gus had been sitting in the police car along with the sheriff, or no, with the sergeant of the state police. And the microphone, he got it wrapped around his leg. And when that thing blew, he pulled out, and we got out of there as quick as we could. And Gus would go about 80 mile an hour, then he'd slow down to about 20. Then 80 mile an hour and slow down to 20. Finally, somebody said, "Gus, are you having car troubles?" And he said, "No, I got to raise my leg to talk on the mic every now and then." But anyway, let's see. Let's go next with Eric Koonce. Eric, get on up here. And then we got Kenny Lee. Kenny Lee, he's still looking at a map trying to figure out where the Lead Hill is.
Thank you, sir. Hello, everybody. I'm Aaron Koonce. I've lived in Arkansas. I was born in Little Rock. I've been a native Arkansan my whole life. I did spend a year in Indiana when my mom moved to Indiana. Came back to Arkansas. When I graduated from high school, everybody's worried about college and where they were going. And I thought to myself, my father, my uncles, my family have served their country, and I wanted nothing more. So I joined the military. I went in the Army for 4 years and spent a year overseas in Korea. I came back stateside and spent the other 3 years in El Paso, Texas at Fort Bliss. I enjoyed the culture, I enjoyed the experience, but I don't ever want to go back. It's just nothing but desert. Didn't really like it. I never thought I'd appreciate Arkansas so much till I came home. When I got home, I decided, how am I going to support my family? What am I going to do? And I got into law enforcement. I worked at the county jail for 4 years as a jailer and a dispatcher, and I gained a lot of experience in how that jail ran and what it took to operate it, day-to-day operations. After doing that, I got interested in going out on the road. And so I went to the city of Clinton, and I went to the police department at the time. Tony Parrish was chief, and he sent me to the academy. During the academy, it was the same time during 9/11. So I was in the academy. I was trying to learn how to become a police officer. We got called to the day room, and we saw the airplane smashing in to the side of the trade centers. And not only that day, as I was there trying to become a police officer, it instilled in me the need and the necessity to serve the public, because our nation was under attack, and I wanted to do something. Everybody saw that and wanted to do something, and our hands are tied because a lot of us can't do anything but just see it. So I finished the academy. I came back and I worked for the city of Clinton. And I know John's older than me. We're distantly related. We're like third or fourth cousins. And I worked under John when I worked for the police department. He's a great chief. But that being said, he's older than me, but I worked under more sheriffs than he mentioned 4. I believe I was under 5. But I spent a lot of time at the sheriff's office too. So in 23 years in law enforcement, I worked under several sheriffs. I worked under Chief Willoughby. I didn't have the pleasure of working under Chief Murdoch. I worked side by side with him. He's a great officer. I have a lot of experience in law enforcement, and I want to put that experience to work for you. John touched on a lot of things. He's talked about people that are disgruntled or unhappy, because used to we had a 2-year term, and in 2 years we got a new sheriff, or an opportunity to get a new sheriff if people were unhappy. This last go around was the new 4-year term. Lucas came in. He got that 2 years plus 2 more, and people in the first 2 years seemed very happy, very content. They thought that he was doing a pretty good job. But like John said, things are changing now. People are walking up to him in Walmart, walking up to me in Walmart and saying, "Man, I hope you run. You know, we need change." So I think it's time. I'm not going to say anything bad about any current administration. I just want y'all to have the opportunity to make a choice if you're ready for change again. You've got several running. So you've got a slew of people to go through. Just do what, the last election that I ran, this is my 4th time to run for sheriff, but I want y'all to do this. I said it last time, I'm gonna drive it home this time. Do your homework. Check into your candidates, check into their experience, and find out who they are. Not just as a person, but talk to people that's known them a long time. Get to find out their history, their past, their abilities to function, as John said, as a leader. A lot of people will tell you that have known me, I have been dedicated to serving the community my whole life. The 4 years in the military, 23 years as an officer. I retired. Now I work for Indiana Transport. I'm gone a lot. I've put 92,000 miles on a new truck since February. And as soon as this is over, I'm leaving tomorrow and putting more miles on. If I can be your sheriff, I can cut down on the amount of time I'm gone from home, and I can be here and serve you and be closer to my family. It's a win-win for me, and if you vote for me, it's a win-win for you. I will serve you, and I will do the best job I can possibly do for you. Anybody have anything else? I'm close to 5. I'm good? All right. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you, Corrine, and thank you, Paula, for putting this on. Y'all did a wonderful job.
Thanks, Eric. All right. Let's see. Up next, Kenny Lee. Did you ever find the Good Hill? You somebody from Limestone, and you couldn't find it?
I know right where Lead Hill's at. I grew up at Western Grove. Conference game. Played Lead Hill a lot. Had some good ball players. I'm Kenny Lee, running for sheriff here. I'm here with my lovely wife, Miss Carolyn, and my campaign manager. I was told to say that.
And I recorded it.
Anyway, we're here seeking a change in the sheriff's office. If we didn't feel like we needed a change, we certainly wouldn't be running. We have visited people all across the county. We started several months ago, checking to see if the feeling of the people was the same as mine was, that we needed a change, that we weren't being served out in the community like we felt like we needed to be. We have had a rash of robberies in our county. We feel like that the sheriff's department didn't respond correctly, so therefore we want to change that. We want to be a sheriff that's hands-on and works with the department. Now, your sheriff said just a minute ago that he has something like 50 employees. Well, that's getting to be a lot of people to take care of. Well, we ran a business. I ran a business with my wife, Carolyn, Leco Fire Equipment. We serviced 3 states selling fire trucks. I worked the southeastern United States, 12 states, with the rescue service. We had dealers in all of those states. We had to work with those dealers. We had to make sure that we were doing a good job. We had to make sure that they did their job. If they didn't, we had to do something about it. And you had to be very careful with people when you're in business that way. You know, if you let somebody go, the next thing you know, you're doing his job along with yours. So management is very, very important with these employees to make sure that everybody is working together hand in hand. And one of the things that I have told people that we were going to say that we were going to do tonight is we visited with everybody all over the county. We want to bring the scanners back. We want the citizens of the county to be able to know what's going on in the county. Well, when I was sheriff here 35 years ago. This scanner was one of our biggest assets. If we were out there and we were having a problem or something and we didn't know what to do, people that were on the scanner listening to them was calling us and giving us directions, giving us help. So you need people's help. You need the citizens' help. And with the scanners, we want to be able to go in and work with our fire departments, with our emergency workers. They're our first line of people out in the county. That's who we depend on. People in the city maybe not realize that it's bad, but we do depend on our fire departments. We do depend on our EMS people. And so that's something we want to do. We want to get back to working with the people. And we want this open door policy with our city, with our state officers, to where we're working together. And you can do that. At one time, we shared one office. That one office worked for the county, it worked for the city, it worked for the state, or anybody else that came in. So we all work together and we can do that. So with that, I'll keep it short here. We want to come in, we want to work with people, we want to protect the people, we want to respond to the people. When somebody makes a phone call to the sheriff's office and they want to talk to the sheriff needs to talk to them. So that's where we're coming from. We want to work with the people, be with you, serve, and protect you. Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, it was Kenny Lee. Mark West, are you here? All right. Up next is Mark West. We're going to get to some of the other office holders. They have said they don't want to speak. They just want to. We're going to call their name. They're going to stand up and wave as they go out the door. All right, here you go.
My name is Mark West, and I own the motorcycle shop here in Clinton, in case some of you guys didn't know. I grew up in Sacramento, California, and I spent about 9 years here in Arkansas, and that's probably the best decision I ever made was to move here. I've been in law enforcement for a while throughout my career and my life. I have worked at Van Buren County Jail, and since I didn't grow up here, I think I have a neutral view on what's going on. Accountability and equality. I think that everybody should be treated the same, and nobody should be treated different, whether you've been in trouble or not, or if you're a felon or anything like that. Every citizen and every deputy should be held accountable for their actions. The Constitution says we the people, not we the government. I stand by the Constitution, and I'll stand by the people of Van Buren County. I encourage open carry for everybody in Van Buren County. The Second Amendment is your right to bear arms. I'd rather have you guys have a firearm and not need it, but not have one. My question is, why isn't there any deputies at some of these community functions? Like, we were at the carnival, and after we left, there was some talk on Facebook about a guy and a girl trying to get people in a car, human trafficking possibly. I didn't see a city cop, I didn't see a sheriff's office, nobody. The fireworks up in Already, I didn't see a deputy up there, I didn't see Medic 1 up there. I did see four-wheelers driving down the road, which that doesn't concern me very much. But what did concern me was DUIs. People were driving, drinking with little kids on these ATVs, and all you need is a car to come in and hit somebody, and we got a tragedy. Be more involved with the community, like Kenny Lee said. You know, we got to be here for the people and listen to what they got to say. I want to have an open door policy. If you guys need to talk to me, you can come in the office, sit down, have a conversation. If you felt like you've been done wrong, we can fix it. I want to actually assist and adopt the animal shelter into the budget of the sheriff's office if I can do that. I think with as much money as we spend on the budget, we can get there. You know, they shouldn't have to close or need donations. We should be able to provide them with what they need. Work closer with Medic 1. You know, they're part of the community. We need to help them out just as much as they need us. Hire more deputies, but since I've just been heard that we have about 50 deputies, I think that that's probably enough for Van Buren County. Body cameras. I think that body cameras need to be worn by all deputies because that can solve a lot of he said, she said, and I would release those body cameras on the website. If there was an incident that happened, I want transparency. I want you guys to know what's going on so no one can have rumors or anything like that. The jail, I want to put 2 females and 2 male jailers at one time and have 2 dispatchers at one time. Because I think that's the way it should be. You know, you have 80 people in there, you guys need to be taken care of. Put 2 deputies per car. It cuts down on fuel. We're in a rural area. We're going to calls in the middle of nowhere. You can't wait for backup to show up. You're cutting down on everything else and all the problems. Patrolling instead of sitting at the gas station. I drive through Choctaw and see about 4 or 5 SUVs sitting there. You could be doing something somewhere else. Bring back some of the old courtesies. I think that there used to be a time where you said, hey, I had a little too much to drink at the VFW. Can you guys pick me up and drop me off at my house? I think that there's no Ubers or taxis. I think we could possibly make that happen. Small infractions. People said, how are you going to cut down on the jail and the problems of cluttering up? If you got a small infraction, cut them a ticket, give them a court date, let them show up, and we can fix that. Release juveniles to their parents for small, minor infractions. I was more scared of my parents than I was the law, and I figured that's something that can be taken care of at home. Bring back mental health interviews. There's people with mental health illness here in Buren County, and if they're suffering from a crisis, they need to be taken somewhere that can help them, not put them in jail. I mean, I'm sure we can work through their charges and figure out what the best solution is, but at least give them a chance. I want to bring a program for senior citizens called the STARS program. It's called the Sheriff's Team of Active Residents in Service. Their jobs consist of neighborhood patrols, vacant house checks, community events, like they could have been here and with a radio saying, hey, we need a deputy. Traffic control, we don't need to tie up a deputy with traffic control. Maintenance of our vehicles, they took them to get fixed. Community watch programs, and they can actually volunteer at the animal shelter. A cadet program. Kids are going down the wrong path in school. If they have problems, they can join this program, and we can get them training, and if they want to be part of the sheriff's department, we can hire them when they're of age. School resource officers. I don't know what happened and why we only have one now, but I want to fix it. I say that because we had threats against our school. I guess there was a incident where a guy said he was going to go to the school with a firearm and they didn't shut school down. Has anybody heard about that? I believe that I would have shut school down and we would have found this guy and no kids would have been at the school. I went to a school that was taken over by a shooter. He called and said, hey, I'm coming to the school, release the school. And they're like, no, you're not. He did. He hurt 7 people, and he took over the school for 8 hours. Ozark Health, the hospital. Bad weather. Everybody calls in. I can't make it to work because 16's so bad. It's treacherous. We can't, get to work. Call the sheriff's office. We'll get you to work because everybody needs help at the hospital. Just rebuild trust. No one trusts law enforcement nowadays. If you make it transparent and tell everybody what's going on and work with the community, they'll trust you. I'm against mask mandates. It's your choice. If you guys want to wear masks, that's great. If you're for the vaccine, that's great. You shouldn't be held. You shouldn't feel like you should be pressured to do this. But if you like what you hear, vote for Mark West. Thank you, guys.
Okay, that was Mark West. All right,